This is officially a rant video, and I'm ranting because I feel so very strongly about this issue. The issue of immigrants not belonging in their host country or in their new country. I feel like we don't speak enough about how hard it is to literally uproot yourself from everything you know, a system you are thriving in, and transplant yourself into another one. Migration is as old as humanity. People have always migrated for various reasons in various directions. People migrate for school, for work, for economic reasons, for humanitarian reasons, for issues relating to conflict in their country of origin. It's okay for people to also migrate just because people do not need to have a reason for migration. And I do not believe that any human being is illegal or can be illegal. However, someone has come into a particular country, there's a reason that motivates them to go from the familiar to the unfamiliar. In this video, I'll be focusing on people who migrate for work, study, or to live long-term with family, because that is the experience that I personally know and have lived for a few years. If you're joining for the first time, welcome. And if you're a returning subscriber, thank you so much for always dropping by. I appreciate your views, your presence, and all the support that you give me on this channel. Of course, I remain Ola, your DEI bestie. And on this channel, we keep it real, exploring all things diversity, equity, and inclusion. And I hope that you're inspired to work towards creating a more inclusive and equitable world. Now, let's talk about this issue of immigrants and belonging. The thing is, there is a lot of damaging rhetoric that is growing and increasingly becoming popular. You hear all sorts of insensitive and damaging slurs like "go back to your country," "you're exploiting the benefit system," and all sorts of unfounded narratives, right? Narratives that are really not backed by data and are not correct most of the time. The thing is, immigrants go through a lot, especially when you move from your country to work or study. You're in a new system. No matter how prepared you are, almost everything is strange. The tax system, the education system, or the working system, the culture, the communication, just settling down, finding a house, finding a new community, getting used to the new food. Sometimes you're learning even a new language, a language that you have never spoken before, all to get by. If you're someone who is used to being excellent and you're coming from, a community or a society where your achievements were celebrated and, you were outstanding, you find that many of these accomplishments might not even be recognized. They might not count for anything in your new society, your host country. And that can be very, very hard to come to terms with. To use myself and my family as an example, we moved to the Netherlands about 3 years ago. My husband is a certified avionics maintenance engineer, and he had worked for about 5 years in Nigeria investigating aircraft incidents in the Nigerian Accident Investigations Bureau. But when we moved here, we quickly found out that, the system was very different, right? The system did not even recognize all of the certifications and qualifications that he had garnered from Nigeria, and he had to basically craft a career pivot, which was very risky. It could have fallen flat on its face, but thankfully it worked out well. However, that's not the reality for many families. We find that sometimes one person in the family might not really have their career take off in the new country, and that can lead to resentment. That can lead to a lot of resentment within the home, a lot of regret about moving, and a lot of pressure really on family life. That brings me to migrating with children and your spouse. That is a whole different ball game. You're looking for schools for your children. If you're taking care of toddlers or babies, you're navigating childcare without the support of extended family. Very, very expensive childcare, I must say, especially in Western countries, where sometimes you might not have, you might not even be entitled to some support, some forms of support within the system for childcare. It's all so draining. It can be so draining. And when you add on top of that the fact that the society that you now want to belong to, you now want to integrate in, contribute all of your skills, create a new life, many people in that society do not really accept you or do not really feel that you belong. It can become, very heartbreaking. And it is really a slight on society as a whole for us to decide that some people, because of the color of their skin, the kinds of passport they carry, the countries they come from, or their ethnicity, they don't really belong in another society. Even when they have come there legally, they are not entitled to many of the benefits within the social system, and they're just trying to make a life for themselves. They're trying to craft a great life for themselves and their families, which is what we all want at the end of the day. So the question remains, where is our humanity as a collective society? How can we ensure that everybody really has a place in the society, regardless of where they have come from, regardless of the passport they carry, regardless of the color of their skin or the language that they speak? You know, we need to really be conscious of how we craft all of these ideologies and narratives. If you're someone who has migrants or immigrants or expats, whatever you choose to call these people, who are guests within your society, what are you doing to make them feel a bit more welcome? How are you confronting your biases? How are you challenging your biases and ensuring that you treat people kindly and you do not make certain assumptions about who they are and where they're from? There are migrants all over the world. There are Western migrants as well, in African countries, in Asian countries. I can say for certain, as someone who grew up in Nigeria and an African myself, Africans bend over backwards to accommodate foreigners, especially Western foreigners. In our countries, they have access to the best of jobs, the best of houses, the best of accommodation, even treatment while using public services. In all the years that I have lived in Nigeria, I never saw anyone scream at a Westerner to go back to their country. It's always how we can make them feel welcome, how we can explain aspects of our culture and ensure that the integration process that they're going through is a bit easier, less difficult on them and their families. And I don't think that it's too much to expect the same when I come into a different society than mine. I think it's important for us to rethink all of these narratives. It's important for us to uplift the benefits and advantages of having immigrants in our society. At the end of the day, we're all just people who want to be the best version of ourselves, who want to contribute, who want to live peacefully, and who want to grow. I think we should give each other grace. If you can relate to any of the things I've shared, being an immigrant yourself, please take your flowers. You're really doing your best, and I hope that the journey, no matter how difficult and arduous it is at the moment, I hope that the journey is worth it in the end. Please share in the comment section how you've been able to navigate your life as an immigrant in a new country. I would really like to know, have you felt a sense of belonging? Have you felt welcome? Has the story been otherwise? Please feel free to share all of your experiences. It would be great to hear from you and learn from you. I hope you've enjoyed watching this video. See you in the next one.